We were talking yesterday about the minimum wage, right? And now the Seattle mayor is basically very close to enacting this $15 an hour minimum wage, but he's backtracking because, it's being phased in, as they always are, over a number of years. Of course, the reason they want to phase it in is to prevent all the unemployment from happening right away, when it would therefore be more obvious that the unemployment was linked to the increase in the wage. So they want to extend out the increases over time so that it's less obvious why the jobs are being lost. But a lot of the liberals are complaining because they're saying it's taken too long. And they also are coming up with some kind of a two-tier system where, if you have fewer than 500 employees total, nationwide, that you have a longer time before you have to get up to the $15 an hour. They're also saying that if it's a service worker, like a waitress, if they get tips, that they can include the tips in the $15 an hour. So obviously trying to backtrack away from what would be a job killer for Seattle. Yet they're still probably going to pass some kind of watered-down version. It's still going to do a lot of damage. It just will do less damage because they watered it down, right? But here, I read this article. President Obama already mandated the 10-10 wage, taking effect in 2015, January. Why didn't he make it take effect immediately? Well, because he doesn't want the layoffs to happen before the elections, the midterm elections. So he postponed the damage till after the elections. But now Democrats can campaign on, well, the president raised the minimum wage to 10-10 for federal contractors. Now, this applies to anybody who is running a restaurant on a military base. So I'm reading this article now about all these restaurants that are already closing now, in advance of 2015. They're not renewing their contracts. These are like McDonald's. You operate a McDonald's franchise on a military base. These guys now got to pay 10-10. They can't afford it. So the article is about how all these restaurants, affecting tens of thousands of people who are going to lose their jobs, not to mention the fact that all these people that live and work on military bases aren't going to have any place to eat, or they're going to have, their dining options substantially curtailed because the fast food restaurants aren't going to operate there anymore. I mean, here you have the president. Now, the military is upset about this. Now they're trying to get exemptions for certain businesses on these military bases from the president's edict on the 10-10. Now, you'd figure the president would see right away, he's got his own people telling him, hey, the military bases are worried that the restaurants are going to close. People are going to lose their jobs, and the soldiers aren't going to have a place to eat because of this higher minimum wage. You think you'd be able to connect the dots. It's not like there's that much to connect. It's all connected right for them to see, wait a minute. So I propose an increase in minimum wage, and instead of all these workers, right? Because he talked about people working at a restaurant on a military base, how now they're going to get a raise. He was just told they're not going to get a raise. They're going to get a pink slip. They're going to be fired. You think you'd say, oh, gee, my bad. Let's do it over again. I guess I'm going to rescind that. My guess is that they will end up rescinding it. It won't be in a big fanfare. It won't be a big press conference about it, but they'll do it. Either they'll give everybody waivers, right? The president will, just like he did with health care, right? He's going to say, you got to pay 10-10, and then he's going to give out all these waivers so that people don't have to actually pay it, right? Because he wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to get credit for mandating these high wages, but then he doesn't want to have to suffer the consequences of all the unemployment. So he's going to give everybody waivers from his own decree, but still, go around the country talking about how, yes, thanks to me, people are going to get paid 10-10 an hour. No, thanks to him, no one's going to get paid 10-10 an hour because he's going to give them waivers. Because if he doesn't give them a waiver, their jobs are going to disappear, right? And where's this? I mean, maybe Warren Buffett, we prayed that sound. Warren Buffett's been studying this for 50 years, and he's not sure on which side of the minimum wage argument he falls. Maybe he ought to take a look at some of this stuff coming out of the military bases to find out. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Maybe has Warren Buffett not checked out American Samoa? Has he not looked at any of the places where you've gone from no minimum wage to a minimum wage and seen about all the unemployment and the hardship that has been created? as a result of these foolish, misguided laws that are just there to attract votes. That's the only reason they're there, is for votes. Because people don't know. People just vote with their heart. They don't really think these things through. And again, if you're against the increase in the minimum wage, you're against people earning more money. You're even a racist now, right? That was a new argument yesterday. You're a racist if you oppose increase in the minimum wage. And we all know that the worst thing you can be in America is a racist, right? That's the absolute worst. Even if you're not really a racist, even if you don't want to be labeled one. And so now they're saying just if you just support increase in the minimum wage, you're a racist. So you have to support the minimum wage just to prove that you're not a racist.